Let's go straight into the next session. I would like to welcome to our virtual stage Tom Pigott from Jetplay. He's going to talk about the next big game idea: harness the power of AI to create chart-topping games.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Pigott, and I am the founder and CEO of Jetplay. We are a B2B startup focused on developing AI tools for creators and developers. And before we dive into the tool that we have developed, I thought it might be helpful to go over a brief history of how artificial intelligence and gaming have been intertwined truly for the past 5 decades. Starting in the 1970s with the breakout arcade game Pong, AI scripts were introduced to create the impression of an opponent through particular behaviors for the objects, in this case, the paddle that was used for Pong. So you had the perception you were playing against an intelligent opponent. And then into the 80s, that carried on with games like Pac-Man and the ability to have scripted multiple opponents with the Ghost, for example. So it gave the perception that there was true AI in these types of games. In the 90s was really the advent of what was called real-time strategy games with big hits like Command and Conquer and Warcraft. And that was the start of AI pathfinding, which allowed the character to move through the games in an intelligent way. In this century, in the early 2000s, began aspects of procedural generation, which really is the focus on having environments created as you're moving through the terrain and gave you more options. And in the past decade or so, there's really been a focus on more lightweight AI, random interaction with non-player characters, and that is a good example of, for example, Red Dead Redemption 2 and also Halo earlier on. And then on the mobile front, AI has been utilized primarily from a performance marketing standpoint, monetization, optimization for players when they're stuck at a certain level or looking to leave the game. They can be prompted through the use of AI scripts to stay in the game and get motivated to carry on. But for us, our roots as a company are as a hyper-casual game studio. And we saw the challenge in the space that's been mentioned before is that it is extremely competitive. Obviously, any number of small studios around the world are trying to create hit games at a given time. And we thought, it's very hard to develop a breakout hit because effectively it's part art, part science. It's many concepts and prototypes and videos that are created, the vast majority of which are discarded because they won't make the metrics of the CPI, CTR, and even D1. Super competitive, and being a hits-driven business, the challenge is to always have to come up with new concepts and new ideas. And where do you get those from? Well, everyone really has many of the same sources. It's social media, it's the top charts, it's the App Annies, the sensor towers. It's looking for inspiration in everyday things, whether you're at home or you're driving, the TikToks. And that's on a weekly basis, having to create new concepts, particularly in the hyper casual space. So for us, we thought, well, what if there was a way that you could maybe harness an intelligent tool, an intelligent assistant that would help you analyze most of the world's games that are out there, not just the top charts, help you understand mechanics in gameplay for why these games have been successful, seeing images of not only the games, but even comparable games in your genre or other genres you might be interested in. So effectively, we thought, this is a way of trying to scale creativity, so to speak, and the ability to not just create one good concept, but to have many, many good concepts that you can work on. Obviously, all of them will still not be the ones that go through. There's still a very much of a funnel process to the development. But if you could have such a tool, we thought it would be a tremendous advantage to really help jumpstart the whole ideation process for individuals or small studios, particularly in the hyper casual space. So with that, we put a small team together, and over the past year, we're actively building and working on this tool. And today we'd like to introduce it, and we call it Ludo. And Ludo is what we consider to be the world's first AI game idea generator. And we believe that given time, it will be truly a transformative aspect of the creative process for that daily or weekly brainstorm activity for trying to create new concepts. And from a scale standpoint, because of its machine learning capabilities, which I'll explain in a little bit, it is literally able to generate thousands of concepts a day. And again, you know, you have to sort through the concepts to figure out the ones that interest you or make the most sense. But it is effectively helping, we believe, to turbocharge and boost your, what we call your game storming process, whether you're alone or with your team. It's been a fantastic tool to have, be able to create it. So I thought we can't really do a demo of the tool today, but I can certainly sort of walk you through and show you aspects of how it works. We released Ludo in about 2 weeks ago as an open beta. So we've been working on it continuously over the past year and training and improving it. And then with the open beta launch a couple weeks ago, we've had super feedback and people signing up, well over 100 studios and individuals providing their thoughts on things we can do, different features that can be worked on. And so we're taking all of that into our list, and we're going to try and implement most of those suggestions before we launch commercially here in the near future. So, but I thought it'd be helpful. I can show you effectively what you do when you come to our Ludo tool for the first time. So it's got a number of different features, but the primary one is what we call the game generator. And you may have an idea that you've been working on a concept, or and you want to go and you want to be able to test this out, or maybe you don't have anything, you just want to be inspired by working with Ludo and seeing what it can help generate with. But typically you would log on and you come to this page and you have the ability to enter in as little or as much as you need to for having it create a game concept. So I just, you know, use example of, say it's thinking about zombies in space, you know, or some type of racing game to the moon. That's all I have. That's all I'm thinking about. I can enter that as a sentence, or I can enter in some keywords, whether it's the mechanics or just something about zombies. And you click generate, and what happens is that literally over seconds and a few minutes, it will create a number of new concepts. You can set it to however many you want. Most people will generate half a dozen different concepts or variations of what you entered to make it manageable. You could do several hundred, and it would take you 10 minutes to get all those results back. So with that, you can select by genre as well, obviously, and then you expand it, and you see some of the images that come back that are related, whether to zombies or racing, the moon. You can save all of those. There's certain mechanics that'll describe what the game is about, as well as some details in terms of the playability and if you compete with friends or not. And so what you do is you iterate with these. You save any aspects of what you like with the save function. You put it onto what we'll call effectively a game design document or mood board, and you can save any images. You can explore those images further, and you're starting to put together concepts of what you like. As I said, there might be a dozen variations of this. So you can go through each one and pick and choose what are the different aspects of this zombie game that you like, for example. So it becomes a highly efficient way to game storm your whole process, because this Ludo AI never gets tired. It is always, you can just continuously put generate, and because of the randomizing uh, algorithms that we have in it, it will never repeat the same type of game. It'll always have a slight variation to that. So it's been a very popular feature that we've had, and allows people to explore fully a lot of new concepts, and takes a lot of the pressure off the weekly brainstorm, game storm need to create, dozens of different concepts to test out and make playables. Another feature that we have built in is what we call the game blender. And so that is something that's been very well received, and it really is taking the existing games that are out there on the top of the charts or elsewhere, and being able to combine them. So, example here I just used was Among Us, which has been wildly popular, certainly, and then Roblox and Subway Surfers. You can do any, you can do hyper casual, you can do AAA games, you can do any other combinations you want, and you blend those games together to create something new. Maybe it'll be the mechanics of one and the images of another. It'll be a description of a third, and you can keep doing that in a way that ultimately creates something original. And that is the challenge, as we all know, particularly in hyper casual. It was mentioned before. Games get copied very quickly, or maybe people take inspiration from a hit game and do something, a slight modification above it. But if you're working on something original, and maybe you combine it with existing games, you can ultimately develop something even more unique, which is great, and have many versions of it. So you can test, hey, is this version going to work? Or maybe people like the slight twist in gameplay or the mechanics. Instead of a swerving, it might be a stacking or something like that. So and then a third feature that we have of some of the more popular ones is this image search. So the image search, we believe, is fairly unique in terms of it's built on 2 million game images and graphics. So it's allows you it's been a great help and boon for 3D artists, 2D artists, creative directors who want to maybe just get inspired by looking up different images to compare and contrast to, maybe across different genres. Want to see what all the, sticking with the zombie example, what all these different zombie type of gameplay images and graphics out there, so that they have an idea how to build something different. It's people will spend a lot of time in this image search, and it's several studios have said, it's actually, it's sort of like a Pinterest for game designers, game artists, because you can set up mood boards with it and have, at the end of the day, dozens of different images that provide inspiration and allow you to proceed with your game concept. So that's been great, and we have another several features that we're adding before we launch in the near future, based on feedback that we've received and suggestions, and it's all been very helpful. So questions have been asked to me in terms of, okay, I understand the features and the benefits, and I would love to maybe understand what's under the hood. How does this whole thing work? You haven't really talked about what are the technical aspects of Ludo itself. And so happy to give a high level version of how we built this. And again, this is with my CTO, helped put this together. So if there's any really specific questions about it, which I may or may not be able to answer in the breakout session or another time, please contact me directly, and I will be able to get you the answer. But effectively, starting on the left side, we built our machine learning platform on OpenAI tools and data sets. So they're pre-trained models. The models that we've used are based on 8 million web pages as a foundation. And then on top of that, we introduced a whole games database, open API sources, so that effectively we're close to 800,000 games that are built on top of this OpenAI machine learning platform. And from there, that's really where the hard work begins. Building the database is honestly not that difficult. It's the training of the data, to clean the data, to make it more relevant, particularly for the games, that the type of results that you get are relevant to what you're expecting, and to parse out any vocabulary or descriptions that don't really have much to do with developing a game. And so it's a cleaning and a training and a testing through various platforms, neural machine translators, that ultimately get you to where you can develop useful search capabilities and generating capabilities. And that's where the natural language processing comes in, the transformer models come in, and effectively what we built from that was the ability to generate these games, to show images, to search in via keyword or sentences or full descriptions. And that all is resting on the cloud, of which you access through a standard web interface. So it'll be a business tool for studios that we're going to be introducing here. Some of the insights, I guess you could say, and the feedback that we've received over the past couple of weeks has been tremendous. And I just thought I would share, how people are using, how studios are using the tool so far. And again, as we say, it's a beta version, so we've got quite a number of things we want to do to improve it even before we launch. But so far, what's been impressive and surprising for us is that there are so many different paths that people are taking to actually generate game concepts, that it's not just going, as I showed you previously, straight to the game generator itself, but people are using the image search in the beginning to kind of create this inspiration, this mood for the type of game that they want through the images, and then going to a generator. Or people start blending existing games and getting something that could be unique and fun, and then adding on top of that maybe their own concept of what they would like to do. Certainly from a research tool standpoint, it's been heavily utilized. People just want to see what's out there, what's working, what are mechanics that are popular, trending, and that I could use maybe in my concept. So that's been really interesting to see, how people are using it. And then, as I mentioned, the whole image search, this is a field within AI, a subfield called computer vision, as well as computational creativity, that is really going to explode here in the next several years, because the amount of breakthroughs in research studies, research papers that are coming out it seems like few weeks, about text to image generation, image to text, the ability, honestly, for some of the models to create art. It's pretty basic at this point, but ultimately to be able to generate art of some capacity, there is that capability now, or take photos of people and generate variations of that. That is all within the realm of what is being developed. And so it's exciting to see what's going to happen here over the next months and a couple of years in terms of how people develop computer vision for the gaming industry in particular. But I think it is important, given all the buzz around AI and expectations, that it's important to talk about, realistically, from a lay person's perspective, what it can't do or what it's not. And so it's not, to say the least, it's not a mind reader. If you come to the platform with just a couple of words in your head or a concept, and you push generate and it doesn't come out with the exact idea that you were thinking about, it needs to be iterated. Most studios are working on their concepts will iterate 3, 4, or 5 times to get something much more precise in terms of the concept they want. It's still more highly efficient than trying to do it on your own without this type of tool, because you can do it so quickly and at scale. And to be clear, it is not a game developer. This is an ideation tool at this point. It is not something that actually goes and makes a video for you or a playable. All the hard work, so to speak, in terms of your studio, you've got to actually create this. But what it does, it just turbocharges your creative process and takes a lot of what I would call the drudgery of trying to constantly come up with a new concept and a variety of new concepts on a very regular basis, pretty much on a weekly basis, with the sticky notes on the whiteboard and voting up and voting down in terms of what you think would work, and researching that and using market intelligence. All of that can be vastly assisted by a tool like Ludo. And thirdly, which you've seen, it's certainly not what we would consider or heard, a job killer. In fact, I think it's the opposite. It's a job enhancer. It's the human plus AI combination that will make the creator's role, the designer's role, even stronger and more exciting, because then they have this resource that they can use to again quickly become more efficient at what they're trying to build and concept out. So I'll wrap up here. Maybe there's a few questions. Not sure, but one other thing that I want to touch base on is where do we see this going? Where does AI continue to go over the next in the 2020s, right? We think it's going to be a very, very exciting time. In fact, I bet it's going to be, in a couple of years, hard to imagine not working with some type of AI tool from a creator and a developer standpoint, whether it's Ludo or other tools. We just think it's a vast new area that once people began working with them, it's going to be very, very exciting. There's going to be the ability to generate games, or maybe autocomplete games. If you set out the environment and maybe some of the characters, using the AI tool to create or automatically generate these types of games. Certainly, there would be the ability for the AI to understand you as a player much better, and your likes and dislikes, and create ever sort of evolving games of your favorite ones you've been playing. So you're almost like the novice every time you play, and everything. The endings are always different, and you never get tired of playing your favorite games or mastering your favorite games, because there'll be the ability for the AI to understand, how it can create a new challenge or new characters or such. And then, as I've mentioned, generated graphics, via GAN type of networks is going to be incredible. I think it's not happening now, but it will certainly be happening here in the next few years, and ultimately to be able to create videos from AI is going to be pretty powerful. So, I mean, effectively saying, I heard this quote from somewhere else, which I thought was a pretty interesting way of expressing it, is that, it's possible in the future that the game will play the player as much as the player plays the game, and that may be the case. So with that, I'm all wrapped up. I hope that was helpful, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any, or join anyone on the Discord channel.
Right. Thank you so much for the talk. And yes, there are indeed a few questions. So let's kick off with the first one there from anonymous attendee. They say, wow, if this can work, it will be incredible, especially for hyper casual. Would there be any danger that this could lead to identifying optimum game concepts, and meaning that multiple studios would end up pinpointing similar ideas? Or do you think it will genuinely create more diversity?
Great question. Yeah, well, I think one aspect of what we have developed into the tool is the randomization ability. So even if every studio entered in the same sentence, so to speak, or the same keywords for what they want to generate, Ludo will return, different results. And so now, again, they'll have some similarities. If you just type in zombies in space, you're obviously going to get something relevant to that. But we think the possibility certainly exists for, more diverse, especially because you can take that and blend that with other games on your own or games that you've been working on. So effectively, you control the ability to input your own unique sources for inspiration.
Great, thanks. And then there's some people, multiple people who really want to know how they can get their hands on this, how can they try out Ludo?
That was my mistake. The last slide I forgot to put, which was if you do have questions or would like to, we have a wait list for the open beta right now, but go to, can I go on my slide? Probably not.
Perhaps you can go into the chat also
Yeah,
and type in a link there.
askludo.ai. Askludo.ai is the is where we have the sign up for testing it out, and or if you want to email me, tom@jetplay.io. So I will go into the Discord though and re-enter that. So
great, I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that. And then there's James Gray from Black 5 Gaming. He's wondering, how long did the project take to get to this stage, and how many developers do you have on this project?
I can answer part of it. It took well over a year, and it's still, as my CTO said, we have a small team, and he said, we feel like we're just scratching the surface on the potential for what this could be, because really the time is in the training. It's not in building a huge, database. That's easily done. It's really the experimentation of, okay, one model works or one model doesn't work. I got to try a new model, and you have to have the background in machine learning and AI to be able to understand, how to test variation. So it's we feel like this is, even in open beta, it's come so far, but we're so excited about what this year looks like for all of the new features and benefits we're going to try and provide to users.
Great, thanks so much. Then it is about time to wrap it up.
Okay.
I see there's more people asking actually for your email address. I think you do have access to the chat window in here, so if you could type it in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, actually the Pocket Gamer staff already did it for you.
Tom at Jetplay, yeah, I see it, yeah.
You'll be getting a lot of emails.
Yeah. So then I guess I'll go over to the Discord channel, right?
Yes, that'd be great. If people can find you there, then I'm sure they'll flood in with some more questions. Thanks again, Tom. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Martine. Appreciate it.